And we're live.
Recording now. The red light is on.
Yeah, but actually we're not going to be live.
Are we just riffing?
Riffing? What does that mean?
No plan. Kind of going. Feeling the vibe. That kind of stuff.
You know, Blake, lately I have been feeling just so blessed. And with Thanksgiving especially, very thankful for, what a year we've had. It's been rough for me too, but I'm thankful for all the great opportunities. And lately I've been reflecting a lot about just the time I've got to spend in the great outdoors.
Yeah.
You know, our LA trip, our Broken Bow trip, just my trip to my grandpa's, going out hunting, stuff like that really had me thinking and reflecting. Man, the great outdoors, that's my escape. You know, I feel like everybody has like something that they escape to, and that's really where I go to find mine. I went with my sister. We went out to my grandparents, and we were deer hunting out there. And it was just, get up at like 4:30 in the morning and get out in the stand, and we're sitting there for 2 hours before the sun comes up, and you got to be quiet. You just sit there
in the silence, like it's just the calm.
And cold. Oh, so cold, like freezing our ass off. But it just really had me reflecting because I had nothing else to do, and I was like, man, like everything kind of disappears when you're out there. At least for me. Yeah. So I've been thankful for that, and it's crazy because I love hunting. I really do, but I'm not successful. Like, I'm not a successful hunter. I'm not. I've shot 2 deer, 3, but 1 doesn't count. So I've shot 2 deer that I've successfully harvested, and I've hunted many years. Like, I've spent a lot of time in a stand unsuccessfully, and I've seen some deer come in. Like, we saw does come in. I was really hoping for a buck. Even if we saw a buck come in, though, I wanted my sister to shoot it because she's never been able to shoot a deer. Yeah. And so I was really hoping for that, and we didn't have a buck come in. The first night, we had some does start to come in, and they obviously winded us and left. But the next day, like, the wind was in our favor, and we had some does come in and hang out, and we didn't see any bucks. And so that was kind of disappointing, but it's just something about it. It just draws me in. Every year I go out there and I spend time in the stand, and probably not as much time as I should. I've just been too busy lately. I'm always busy. Right. But I spend a lot of time in the stand, and I'm not successful.
Well, man, I've only been actually hunting 2 seasons deer hunting. So I've done like varmint hunting and stuff like that, but like casual hunting, but actually, taking the time to get a lease and doing the whole thing for the whole season. And I shot 1, a buck, killed it, was able to recover it and do all this stuff with it, got the meat. It was great. And then the second season, right after that, I shot a doe, but we weren't able to recover it. It got away. So, really? Yeah. So like now I haven't been a whole lot like relatively to like my friends and stuff who I grew up with people that hunted like religiously. Yeah. And it's a commitment. And me and my brothers and stuff, we tried it. It was something that we always wanted to do. My dad was excited to kind of show us, how it's done. And he had a lot of good friends that had some leases that we were able to use. And, but we just were focused on like other things like sports and just, stuff that we were more interested in. And so, it's a commitment to like, to actually do it like right. And to do it like all season long. Like that's what you do. That's what you spend your weekends doing, or, during the weeks, whenever you have a day off or whatever, that's what you got to spend your time doing, and to be, successful at it. And it's something that I enjoyed doing. And I enjoyed hunting too. Like I said, I've grown up shooting guns and everything, and shooting varmints and, killing stuff, as morbid as that sounds, but it's like, it's fun. It's the chase. I think it's like in guys' DNA to go out and to want that, even though you might not be successful. Like at first it's like you get like a taste of it and you're like, oh, I want more. And so like, then like it keeps you coming back.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I don't know what it is for me. I just love it. Every time I go out there, it gets so cold in the mornings. And that's really when the best deer hunting is, right? Whenever it's really cold, you get the rut started, things like that. But I'm just not that successful, but it just draws me in. I keep going out there. I keep sitting out there in the hopes that this is going to be the time. Every time I go out there, I'm thinking like, all right, this has got to be the time. I've been out here so many times. It's got to be the time. Now, this trip recently was a little bit more successful than usual because we did have some does come in. So like at least you have something to watch. Like you get to see some life. It's really disappointing when you go sit out there for a few hours and finally the sun comes up and you just keep sitting there and nothing shows up. that's hard. But this time, we got to see some doe. We got to see some activity, which was nice. But man, I don't know something about it. I've been getting better. Like, I feel like we had our scent better under control. Like, I could tell the way the wind was blowing. I knew the first night, I was like, wind is really not in our favor. Any little thing, and they're definitely going to wind us. And they still came in. Like, they were within rifle range.
Yeah.
And so here's another thing is I've been really trying I want to harvest a deer with my bow. It's something I've really been practicing with a lot. I did like shooting sports growing up. But we never got a lease because, like you did sports, we were always showing livestock and stuff. That's where we put most of our time, our money, and like our dedication to. So we didn't really have time to have a lease. But my grandpa has land in good deer country out near Goldthwaite. And so we have a feeder out there, and we've been trying to get them kind of, coming in, I guess. And we have cameras, and we've been trying to do better. But yeah, just getting out there. I wasn't as successful, but I did have a little more hope now that I saw some deer coming in. I've been watching the cameras. They're starting to come in. I think once the rut picks up, I think it's a matter of time just getting out there and getting myself in the stand more frequently. Like this was my first time this year being out there. And so I think that it's just a matter of time for we're out there and the timing, everything works out. We start to have like our scent under control, the wind in our favor, stuff like that. And surely the bucks will start coming in because we are seeing them on the camera coming in the daylight. Yeah. Whenever I used to hunt my parents growing up, I never could get bucks to come in the daylight. I would get them on the camera all the time at like midnight, some big 10 points, nice deer. And I don't know, there's probably a way to kind of work them towards more coming during the day. Like I had the feeder set where it went off during the daylight, but I don't know, I never could get them to come during the day.
They're smart. Like they are. And they catch on to like
especially those old
human
bucks.
Patterns. Yeah. They catch on to human patterns. So like they know like, okay, I've seen some suspicious activity around this area around this time, and they remember that, and they either don't go there or they'll go at a different time.
Yeah,
they're elusive for real.
Whenever I was younger too, I never paid attention much to my scent. I never paid attention much to the wind and to thermals, how that works. That was kind of an interesting thing for me to kind of learn about.
Do you have a bottle of deer piss?
No, I don't. I don't have any doe urine. I got a grunt call that I don't know how to use. I've tried it like a couple times, just sitting out there, I didn't see anything, so I'd start grunting a little bit. I'm like, what is this?
What do you mean like a grunt call? Like, is it not just like you have to do like manually or something? Yeah, is it like a technique to like using a grunt call?
Oh, I'm sure there is. I wish someone would show me how to use it because
we always had like I don't know if it's just a doe that makes this noise or a buck, but it's like a little canister.
Oh yeah, and you tip it.
Yeah, we use that.
I've had those before. Some antlers.
Some antlers on like a string, and you just kind of sit there and you rattle them around.
Oh, you've never seen a grunt call though? It's like a tube. And it's got just
it's like a little
reed in it.
It's like a rib. We use that too. Actually, I thought you were talking about something different.
No, that's what I have.
So you should just be able to blow into that, and it makes that noise.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty simple, but
maybe your reed's broken.
No, I mean I make a grunt noise. It just deer don't come to it. Like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what it's supposed to sound.
They're
like,
off in the distance.
Have you ever tried like I know you haven't, but I went duck hunting for the first time last year with one of my good friends, TK, and he's really good with the duck call, and like it's one of those things that you hear and you're like, oh yeah, like it sounds like a duck, like okay,
but to them it doesn't.
Or if you try it, it's like, oh shit, like how do you make that sound? Like it's a difficult technique to get down, and and
you have to do it.
The
like,
ducks know
in a way like that you can't just like blow into it, make a noise, and them like have it, them know like, oh, that's a different duck. I'm gonna go over there. Like it's gonna sound a little different. Whatever cadence and rhythm that they make that noise.
This is kind of funny, but to me it sounds like if you were to try to speak Chinese to a Chinese person, and you know how you just make up Chinese words or like what you think sounds like Chinese, you're just making something up like that. Whatever.
What?
I don't know. You just throw out like Chinese sounding things because you don't know Chinese.
Yeah, like and sound racist as hell. Like just
no, but you get what I'm saying. That's what I imagine the ducks hear whenever I try to make a duck call. They're like, wait, what? Like what did this guy try to say?
This bitch.
Like the words I just said were obviously not Chinese because I don't know any Chinese words.
Yeah,
you just try to make noises.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
You try to get to that level, and you're like, all right, this isn't working. That's what the ducks hear, and I'm sure that's what the bucks hear whenever I start grunting at them.
Right?
They're like, what is that? That's not a deer.
Like, yeah, like who are they trying to fool? But and have you ever I think it's turkeys, right?
Oh,
and that's the thing you have to scratch.
A scratch call.
Yeah, that's kind of hard. You have to hit it just right and
I've never used a scratch call, but I have used a mouth turkey call. Okay, keep in mind I've never been turkey hunting before, but I used a mouth turkey call because in high school you could hide it and we would all make chirps during class and mess with people and be in the hallway and at lunch we'd be clucking and shit.
Yeah, we
just
did
messing around.
We did different things messing around. Bringing animal calls to mess with the teacher or something.
Yeah, because you just hide it in your mouth. No one would know who it was, and it's whenever it's loud, it's hard to depict where it's coming from. Yeah, that's what we did in high school.
Yeah, I did. This just came to my mind, so I'm just gonna tell the story real quick. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Go for it.
But so we're in English class. And if you played sports and stuff, the teachers, the coaches, they also teach. And usually those classes are kind of considered a little easier. They're a little more lenient. They're not as teachery, I guess.
Yeah, no, I had some coaches that gave me some A's because they had easy class.
And so we're in English class and we have one of our coaches teaching the class. And I had my friend, I'm not going to say his name because he was taking, for a good reason, he was taking some hydrocodone syrup. He was sick, but he took too much of it. And we were sitting there, and he's sitting right in front of me. And he had to go to the bathroom to take it. And he comes back, and he's acting fine. This is the beginning of class. The class goes on. It's a 45-minute class. We get about halfway through, and this dude turns around, and you can see in his face, he's fucked up. He looks at me, and he goes, Blake, I took way too much of that, and I'm freaking out. He's tripping balls. And so I'm just dude, just calm down. That class period, we had to go up and we wrote a poem. And we had to go up and present the poem. And each of us, one by one, has to go up and read the poem in front of the whole class. So he's tripping balls, high as shit on the hydrocodone syrup that he took too much of. And he is just blitzed. He went up there and you couldn't really tell that he was if you didn't know, but we knew, we had a group of us, we all kind of sat together and we all kind of knew. And so we were really trying hard not to laugh. We were trying to make him feel a little comfortable. We were trying not to trip him out. Cause you see your friend off when you're trying to do something in front of the class and you make eye contact. Yeah, and if they're laughing and then you start laughing and there's no telling what was going on in his head. And so the day goes on, the class ends, the day goes on. And then I have a class with that same guy later on. And he kind of I guess he comes down from it. He starts feeling a little bit normal. And I'm talking to him and he goes, dude, I do not remember what just happened in the past 3 hours. I don't remember any of the classes I went to. I don't remember going up and saying my poem. I was like, dude, but you did just fine. And so it's just memories of just jacking around in class and just the funny shit that we would do and the trouble that we would get in.
That's funny.
It was so fun.
I could not imagine being in that situation or being the friend in that situation because I'm so bad about I'm so bad about dying laughing, just busting out.
Oh, yeah.
I can't hold it in.
And then when you try to hold it in, it just gets worse.
Yeah, it gets worse. And then you start making those sounds, where you're kind of about to bust. You're
your face you get real hot.
Yeah.
And especially it gets even worse whenever there's the teacher or someone's telling you to stop laughing or y'all need to calm down and something's just really fucking funny. Yeah. And you just cannot hold it in.
Oh, whenever I was a kid, I was the worst at when I'd get in trouble, I would laugh. It would be the times that you weren't supposed to laugh. And
right.
I would let that overwhelm my mind of this constant fear of me laughing. And it would slowly start to make me start to smile. And then it was
yeah,
what's funny? You're in trouble, this and that. And it's
oh, that's the worst.
Funny. And then it just gets worse.
You're getting scolded and stuff. And you just can't, you feel your cheeks starting to rise and it's so hard to keep that down.
I was the worst about that. It was so terrible.
One of these other stories is this is a different English class, a different year. This is in junior high. And we had this kind of weirder girl in the class and she was just a little odd, which is fine. But we were reading we were doing popcorn reading, where, you call on the next person to read the page. Yeah, I hated it too. I think everybody did.
I just hated it whenever people couldn't read.
right?
Hey, that's what bugged me.
It's like when you get embarrassed for somebody, like that embarrassing syndrome or whatever, where somebody else is doing something, you watch it and you're like,
let me just read this instead of you. And I wasn't even good at reading. I was just like, I'd get so irritated with people.
So we were reading this book, and there was like a mild cuss word in it. Like it said like, I can't even remember. It was like damn or whatever. Like very mild cuss word, if you can consider that a cuss word. But this girl did not want to say it. Like she did not want to say it, which is fine. The teacher was cool with it, but she instead of just skipping the word or making it a different word or whatever, she like made it a point to let everybody know. Like she stopped, paused in the middle of like the sentence on the page she was reading, and she just was like, "I'm not going to say that word." And the teacher was like, "Okay." And there was a little bit of snickering, and she like turns around real quick and faces like some of like the other students. She goes, "I'm not going to say that word," and she starts to get really angry. This chick frisbees like, you know, like the like not shot put, but I should know this. I ran track. The
disc throw,
discus.
Yeah,
she discused that book because there was this kid Thomas. He was in the corner of the room. He was in the very far. I can vividly remember this. He was in the very far corner of the room, and he starts dying laughing. Like he just like one of those things where just I got too much and just erupts. She chunks that book at him, and it's just like we're all like trying not to laugh. It's not because it's kind of like what the heck's just happening, and the teacher like starts going off on her and Thomas, the dude, laughing, and we're just like sitting there like biting my lip because I cannot laugh.
Not to be the one that laughs next. You get a book thrown at you,
dude. It was that's like the best. I don't know. Dude, there are some crazy things that happen in school. Went way off topic there. What were we even talking about?
Well, I was going on about hunting and stuff, but that's pretty funny. You got me lost. Oh, one thing I thought about while I was up in the stand, because I'm just endless time to sit there and think and seeing the stars and stuff, which were so beautiful. But I thought, I am a hunter. I would like to consider myself a hunter, but I'm an unsuccessful hunter. And I can only imagine, I'll go with my bow, but a lot of times I'll take a gun too, because I don't want to miss the opportunity of a deer being like out of the 40, 50 yard range that I'm capable with my bow and being like, this is the one buck I've seen in the last 3 or 4 years. So I'll have a gun with me too. Or like in this case, I had my sister. So like she was going to shoot it, but if it was something like really close, I might have a shot with the bow. And, I was just thinking, all this modern technology. I got scent cover. I got a tree stand, a nice compound bow, a rifle, scope, binoculars, grunt call, like all this modern day technology, and I'm still unsuccessful. Imagine if my family or my tribe was counting on me, 200 years ago, 300 years ago to bring home a deer.
But you'd probably also do it a lot more often back in the day. You know what I mean? Because that's your job.
But
that's
also,
what you do.
You got to give them some respect for what they were able to do. And I know that it's just like the times are different. And I'm sure back then, like they were raised learning how to kill deer and how to like track them down and hunt them and stuff like that. But it just amazes me that as, humans, we were able to live in that kind of situation. Granted, we were also gatherers, like we weren't just hunters, like we ate a lot of plants. Yeah. But also we were successful hunters. And then there were successful trappers and things like that. Like it was just, I don't know, it stuck out to me in a way that I was like, wow, like we really have like come a long way. But my ancestors would be very disappointed in like my inability to go out and harvest a deer. Well, actually, I could have shot a doe, so I think I still would have brought home the meat, which I'm still thinking I might do by the end of the year if I'm not seeing any bucks and I go back out again, because I really just want to I want to harvest a deer this year. I want to have it processed and have deer meat. It's something I haven't like really had much.
Doe is always like the consolation prize.
Yeah, and well, growing up too, whenever I hunted with my parents, you couldn't shoot a doe because where we were at in Bell County, it was like the certain side of I-35 that you could shoot a doe, and some sides you couldn't. So we were in a buck only part of the county. So I hunted in my parents, basically, we had 10 acres. I hunted on the back like acre of our land. And it was like just on the other side of this little creek that we had. And that was where we were having like good sized 10 points. And I was very committed back then too, and still unsuccessful. I built my own like deer blind. I don't know how old I was, maybe like 15 or 16. I don't think I had a truck. I don't think I was able to drive whenever I built this blind. So maybe 14 or 15. And I just got plywood and 2x4s and some tin roofing. And I made a blind, plexiglass for like windows, some carpet down in it. It was cool. Like it was nice for, I mean, like my budget as a kid and what I built. And I spent a lot of time out there hunting. Actually, at first, me and my brother we put 4 T-posts in, some cattle panels on each side, and then wrapped it in a tarp and then cut out windows. And we sat in there, and then we made 2 of those around a feeder, and we sat in there and we hunted out of that for like a year or 2 before I ended up building like a full deer blind. But still sat out there many, many nights. And I remember one night, my brother swears that we were both sitting in the stand. And we were across from each other, so like we weren't in the same stand. We were in our little shack shed things made out of tarps.
Makeshift.
Yeah, and he swears that a buck was coming in and that I sneezed and that it ran away. And I never saw this deer, and I definitely didn't intentionally sneeze, but I occasionally would have a cold as I was out there, and it would get to me, and maybe I scared off the deer that time. But other than that, we really never saw anything.
And too, like when you're hunting and when you're looking for a deer or something, like your brain plays tricks on you. Like you think you saw it, and then it really wasn't.
I don't know. I don't know what the situation was. I don't know if that was a real story or if he was just mad that we didn't see anything or what. I wouldn't doubt it that this was the one time a deer was coming in. I always give my sister a hard time because used to, when her and I'd go sit in the stand, we'd just be sitting out there like 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Sun's finally coming up. We've been freezing, and like this is all you hear. And I'm like, shh, be quiet. Like she's just sniffling. She's like, my nose is running. I'm like, I don't care. Be quiet.
Do something about it.
Like what? So I was giving her a hard time beforehand, but she was really good this last time, and she's grown up too. But I'm really hoping that we can get out there a couple more times this year and hopefully be successful. That was all.
But that's like that's one of your happy places. It's
yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's really where I was coming from is I recognize that as one of my getaways, whether I'm successful or not. That was a long tangent about not being successful. You can tell it kind of eats at me a little bit. There's a lot of things I'm good at in life, but there's some things I'm not good at.
Yeah.
And I really want to be a good hunter, and I just haven't found success with it in the past few years.
I mean, everybody's kind of got their happy place. It's for you. It's, multiple things, but one of them is being out there in the morning with the calm
and just with outdoors. Everything that's been going on, kind of some of the stress that I've experienced in life lately. Of course, everybody's going through a lot politically with what's going on with the country, also with all the COVID crisis, stuff like that.
A lot of stuff stacked on each other.
Yeah, I was, I've been stressed. I've been with my job changing all around, and like I've been searching for new opportunities and trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. So it's been stressful, but getting out there is like my getaway. And I was thinking too, I want to point out and recognize like some of the different things that we do that are like our lifestyle choices. Yeah. Right. Whether you think of it as a choice or not, just things that you consistently do in your life, whether it's something you do every day or something you do every week, or like hunting for me is something I do yearly. Yeah. It's really a lifestyle choice, and you want those things to be positive choices, and you want that to be filled with like some of it's just work, some of it's like maintenance stuff. Like I would say going to the gym is a lifestyle choice if you consistently go to the gym, and that may not be for anything but just trying to keep your body in check, just trying to stay healthy, trying to stay fit. I also think it is like a stress reliever in different scenarios. People use it for all sorts of things, but that's a lifestyle choice just as much as a yearly hunting trip or a hiking trip, or like our group getting together for a Friendsgiving. Just, that's putting yourself around like your friends, around people that make you happy. I feel like all those kind of fall together to be different lifestyle choices that you make, and being aware of the ones that really keep you sane, that are like your getaways, like the hunting is for me, or like our hiking trip was, and things like that keep you grounded, keep you level, and help you move on whenever things can get tough, and just having some stability and some, I don't know, just.
Well, I mean, I can speak to that as well. I have my things that I do on a daily basis or very frequently that help keep me sane, and it's the things that I know that I really enjoy, and even though they might be hard or strenuous sometimes to do these kind of activities, I know what it does for like me mentally. Like that's like the biggest thing I feel like benefits from, doing these certain things that, bring you joy, or just you have the right amount of like, or the certain type of work that you put into these things that there's some kind of benefit to it. You get some kind of payback. And then when you don't have that and you lose focus on some of those things that are like true to you, it really can take a huge effect on like yourself and just your mental. Like when I was going through the stuff with my ex and trying to make it work out, I lost focus on like working out. Like I wasn't working out as nearly as much. And that's something that I've done my whole life. I've worked out consistently. I have never stopped working out. It's just something that I do and I have to do, because if I don't, I'll go crazy. Like it's one of those things that helps kind of like keep the demons out. Seriously. Right. And so, going through that time period for me, I was focused on, really trying to make this thing work. And I didn't do the things that I knew I needed to do. And even in that moment, I knew like, and I'm slipping on some of these just daily activities and certain things and certain, it's things that I have to keep doing. And when I don't, it was terrible. Like I went through this kind of depression stage, and it was kind of hard during it, but then when I kind of got out of it, I looked back and I was like, oh, I wasn't working out. I wasn't, taking my time to like, cause some mornings I'll sit there and I'll drink my coffee in complete silence. And I just think, I get ready for the day. I wasn't able to do that because when I woke up, my immediate thought was, okay, what do I need to do to make this thing work? Right. What do I need to do? What can I do on day by day to try to build this relationship back up? And to no avail. And so that's even worse whenever you because sometimes there's, points in life, probably for everybody, that you have to put that stuff on the back burner when things are really important. You need to focus on some other stuff to kind of fix or whatever's going on in your life. But when you're not getting anywhere in those things you're trying to fix, and you're not doing the things that yourself, or your mental and just personal self growth and things that keep you who you are, it does it's a huge detriment to your mental health and just physical health, because they're connected. If you slack on the physical parts of your daily routines and things that keep you healthy or happy, and that's going to affect your mental. And if you don't do the things that keep your mental sane and keep you just your mind kind of on the right track and in a positive like outlook on life, it'll affect you physically. That they're just interconnected, they're intertwined more than people think. And so it's huge. It's a massive thing to understand and put thought into. Okay, what do I do that I know brings me joy? Is it is it going to the gym? Do I know like afterwards I feel like this high of just self accomplishment, even though I'm not really working towards anything. Maybe it's not even like I'm not doing a sport anymore, but I know even. I take pride in my body, and I really admire myself and my body and what it's able to do. But now I'm just doing it just because, I appreciate it, and it does make me feel good after a run. It's kind of like sitting in the blinds in the morning. It's calm. There's nothing going on. You're literally isolated. That's what running is for me. When, people are like, man, like, why do you like, oh God, you're running. You're like, I would hope that they would understand, or I try to at least make people understand, like, no, it's like, for me, it's
like therapy.
It's for me to be able just to release my brain, really. Like, right. Cause my brain is always going a million miles an hour, restless minds. That when I'm running, it's a piece. I break away from my body, and that it took a while for me to do that. I trained track for so long, and one of the things that you do in the training is you try to break away from that pain, like that, because running, when you're a sprinter or doing like competitive running, there's a lot of pain involved. And you have to find a way, especially if you're really looking to become good at it and successful at running, you have to find a way to break that mental, physical boundary, that connection that's there. And so after, doing that for 11 plus years, I still need that. And I know how to do that. And that's something that running does for me. That's something that working out does for me. But now that I'm, not doing track anymore, and I don't have that sport, I don't have like that passion that I did for so long. Well, now I'm having to find some other things that kind of have to fill in those gaps, because once that's done, you're kind of left with, okay, now what do I do? So I'm really happy that that I'm able to kind of focus on, my social side, being able to just have good conversation with people. I was so focused on, just doing my job and doing my schooling and doing my athletics and doing the sport and all that kind of stuff. My social life took a back seat for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And so now I'm able to do that. Now I'm able to have good conversations with, and that's huge, man. Like having a good conversation, that'll make you feel like, it does for me at least, like having a good conversation is invaluable. Like it's something that does such like a good, I have such a good feeling after. It's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, you have to have whatever it is, and it's personal for everybody. You have to find that, and you have to put real thought into it. Sometimes it's not as evident, you have to try things.
Something you need to recognize, especially whenever you do find it, and then try to prioritize it, right? Mm-hmm. So make it a habit and make it one of those lifestyle choices that I was talking about.
Yeah.
You got to work it into your life somehow. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important that whenever you do find those, kind of like you said, things that you work through with past relationships, like you really shouldn't be with somebody who's going to take any of that away from you.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, your sanity is going to be the one that suffers, or your physical, your mental,
you're going to lose who you are,
is going to suffer if you're not able to do those things. And they may change. They may not always be the same. You may love working out now, but you may get to a point where like what you enjoy is spending time with your family, and what you enjoy is, raising your kid, or what you enjoy is taking days off and traveling. It can be whatever. It doesn't have to be that you have to be, a super athlete like Blake and always be out there grinding, but you could just enjoy some lonely time up in the deer stand.
Oh, it's different for everybody.
Yoga. I think a lot of people enjoy that about yoga.
Yeah.
I would like to get into yoga a little bit more, because I think it's one of those things that forces you to focus so much on like how you're controlling your body, mm-hmm. that it makes you stop kind of thinking about other things. I've noticed that about like my mountain biking. Whenever I'm biking, my mind's always going 100 miles an hour whenever I'm doing things every day. But whenever I'm biking, it forces me to pay attention to what I'm doing on the bike, to where I'm going, what's next, things like that. So it kind of narrows my focus on one thing that I'm working on, and lets my mind kind of take a little bit of a break from the constant restlessness of everything that's always just going on in my head.
And I think
that makes sense.
And I think like when you think of the word meditation, or like a meditative like action, people kind of automatically assume like, oh, I have to sit in a quiet room and close my eyes and hum and do some monk thing or whatever. No, like meditation can be whatever. It can be running. It can be, sitting there and crossing your legs and doing that kind of thing. It can be riding your bike. Meditation comes in all different kind of forms.
Yeah.
It's really just whatever activity or thing that you can do to kind of put your mind at in kind of like a garden, it's like a walled garden. It's a place where I know that I can go that is away from everything else. It allows me to block away all the thoughts that you have throughout the day, because, things with like technology and our phones and just all the notifications and things that we have coming at us 100 miles an hour all day, every day. It's good to have that walled garden that you can go into and just have that peace. And, I think a lot of people maybe have found a little bit of that, or realized because of all the lockdown and stuff this year, if like, wow, like I was just going and not really noticing what it was doing to me. And that's like one of the scary things. And like going back to when I was in like that, relationship trying to make it work, I didn't realize it. When I was in it, I did not know what it was doing to me. And I had some people, hint to me that, man, like you're not acting like yourself. You seem very run down. It's scary that you're not able to notice that when you're in that moment. Thinking back, it was evident. I was like, Jesus, Blake, like how'd you not realize that? Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, it's good to have that certain activity or whatever you're going to do to just allow your brain to, it's like rest almost. Even though you might be doing something active, you're not necessarily resting your body, but it allows your brain to kind of float up in there and just to break away and kind of be free flowing. And it's different for everybody, whatever that is. But it's super important. And I would encourage everybody to think about what do I do that I know gives me that ability to kind of feel a little free, or not be able to think about the depression that's rampant. It's not thinking about, Jesus, like, I'm not happy with, the outcome of our election, or, I'm not happy with how COVID's being handled. It's being able to just break away from that and get into that walled garden and sit there and be in that silence and that peace, because that peace will allow you to prioritize things that, with the noise that's going on in today's world, which breaks my heart that our world is so broken right now, because it is, that it gets too much for people. And I had a conversation with one of my friends about depression not too long ago, and I have some depression within my family. I do believe depression is hereditary. I think if you have your family members and stuff past that have depression, it carries over sometimes. It's like something that, like, I know it's like this dark tunnel, and like I see it, and I know what's down in that tunnel, but luckily I'm able to not go down that tunnel, and I think it's because I do know certain things that allow me to not go down that dark tunnel of depression. But for some people, they don't have whatever method or device or whatever they're going to do to kind of bring them out of that dark tunnel. It's very, very sad. And I have some friends that are battling with that day in and day out, and to watch them. And that's something that's very exhausting to do every single day, is to fight that darkness. And so if you're able to kind of break away from that, that's a huge blessing to have. It's a good tool to keep you sane and healthy. I mean, it's real, man. That does wonders. That does probably more so than medicine, honestly. Like you taking a Xanax or whatever. I think that's another problem that we have today, is whatever's going on in your brain will just medicate you and try to fix it. That'll fix it, Give
you something to get you by.
And then other parts of you are broken because of that medication. You take Xanax, but you take Xanax, now you're addicted, and now you have to have that. And now that muscle that you had to be able to make you feel better and to, have that meditation or whatever you're going to do to make you feel happy with life, that deteriorates that completely, because now you're dependent on taking that to make you feel better. And so, this year has been a huge eye-opening thing with myself personally, and just watching some of the people around me and how they feel, and just the mental health of everybody is so important. And, that's something that I have a passion for. I hope that maybe one day I can do something that will help people with that. It's like I have like this idea in my head, and this is real too for people that, don't do athletics and didn't have a sport that they played for forever. When you don't have that anymore, that's like a post-athlete depression. That sucks.
It's like a looking for your purpose kind of
lost
depression. Yeah.
Very, very lost. And I went through that hard. Still kind of going through that a little bit. And it's like, man, like we didn't have any kind of resources to help us navigate not having that anymore. And there was nothing in college that they said, hey, just letting y'all know that it wasn't talked about at all. Like no one talked about it. And that's a huge deal. So it's like, man, like how do we not know that like our mental is just as important as our physical health, And I'm hoping that, with this whole year and depression becoming rampant everywhere, suicides up and whatnot, that we're able to kind of alert ourselves and open our eyes to, like that's something that you need to take care of, like on a daily basis. And it's hard, like especially when you're deep in that tunnel, in that dark tunnel, when you're deep down 100 miles in, to get out, you're going to have to work hard to get out.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be enough to take a pill to drown it out with like alcohol and stuff. That's something that, man, it breaks my heart to see. And that's just something that is very,
real.
very personal.
It's prevalent in in what we have going on in the world. And I've seen it in friends that I'm really close to and friends that I'm not that close to, and just people that I've seen or heard about instances, stuff like that. But I do have friends too with very real scars that I've personally seen and know that those people battled some heavy, hard-hitting demons that they're still battling. And that's definitely a real thing. And kind of like you said, I'm very blessed to have different coping mechanisms of whenever I catch myself going down a dark
healthy
tunnel.
Coping mechanisms.
Yeah. Being able to pull myself out of it, being able to understand, because things aren't always easy. I'm very blessed. I'll always stay positive about that, but you can't be positive 100% of the time, especially with things going on. I've gone through a lot in this past year, and it's nothing compared to what some people are going through. So I can definitely relate, but it's not something that I think people get through alone very easily. I think it's something that majority of the time people get through it because they have others. Yeah. So maybe we should be a little more aware of that, and telling our friends and our family and telling your loved ones that you love them and that you're there for them, and then showing up whenever you have to be, being accountable too, because it's not just saying that you're there for somebody or saying that you hope everything's going good for them and hope they're doing okay. Sometimes it's more than that. So maybe we should emphasize that a little bit more as we battle through this COVID thing, and recognize whenever other people aren't the same. And I have been seeing a lot more. There's commercials about it. There's one particular that comes to mind where I think it's Billie Eilish is in the commercial, and she's talking about using the awkward silence or making time to check on your friends and things like that. So I'm glad that it's making an impact enough to be able to get out there on major streaming stations and networks and stuff like that people are putting money towards making others aware. But we do have a job to do whenever it comes to keeping up with our friends, keeping up with our family, our loved ones, making sure everything's okay with them, and then also reaching out whenever we're the ones that need the help. If you're going through something, if you're really battling something, you don't have to do that alone. I think a lot of people don't understand the friends and family that they do have, and how far they're willing to go to make sure that everything's okay with them. And if you don't have friends like that, I don't know. I think you should prioritize the people that you hang around with until you can find those people that are actually there for you and that are going to take care of you mentally and physically and care for your health in that kind of way. Because I'm blessed to have the friends and family that will, and I hope to be that friend or that family member to those that need it, that are my friends. But I know everybody is not that fortunate. So
our group of friends that we have are amazing. We have a very strong group of friends, and the benefits that we all bring to each other. I think it has no end. It has no value to it. It's something that's very special and it's very strong. It's a very powerful thing. And I've had friends that I grew apart from for different reasons. Just that's life, you grow up and you move away. But I've had the fortunate time here recently to kind of connect with them again, and to see that some of them are doing better and some of them aren't. But the fact that I'm able to hang around them again and at least be that person that either I'm going to talk to you about it, I'm going to sit down and we can kind of go through it, how you feeling, and talk about it in depth, and I'll sit there as long as you need me to, or just I'll be the guy that you just come hang out with, and we'll break away from that a little bit because I know you're dealing with it constantly. So let's take a break from that. Let's just have fun. Let's have a good time. It goes both ways. That both those approaches can be very helpful. So I've been here recently very, very blessed to have a group of friends that bring me up when I'm down, and that I'm able to impart things into them, and we just are able to bring each other up, but also have those friends now that I'm able to have connections with again, that I don't know where they would be if they don't get the help that they need, and they do need the help that they need. And so it doesn't take a therapist to make somebody feel better. It doesn't take somebody that went through education to know what happens in the brain whenever people go through depression. It doesn't take that expertise to really help people out. And it's just, it's, giving a fucking hug, just that alone, how much that does for people. It's saying one nice thing to somebody. It's, I was I was in a really bad mood, and I had to go to a store or something. I had a really bad day at work, and there was a homeless guy. I went to Target, and so I came out, and I was mad. I was so mad, and he waves me down. He's trying to get a bunch of other people's attention, but he waves me down, and I stop, and I go, "Hey man, how's it going? How can I help you?" He goes, "Dude, I just need to can you go inside and get me some bread or something?" And I was like, "Man, I'm kind of in a hurry, but here's a couple bucks. I gotta go." I just was like in this heated stage of just anger, and I just was very tunnel visioned. And I got in my truck, and I kind of sat there, and I broke away from it for like a hot second of that anger, and go like what am I doing? Like, that dude is starving and just wants food, and here I am, like, just
too busy.
Yeah. I felt so bad. I felt so terrible, and I look back, and I guess he went inside or something. He was gone, but I missed that opportunity. I missed that opportunity to do a little bit more than just give him a few bucks. And so ever since then, I've always made a point to be more aware of the people that are around me and how they feel. Because for a long time, I was very blind to that. I heard a lot of people, and I wasn't aware of my actions towards people and how they made them feel. And I was just arrogant to that, and not aware of, people's just mental. And so I've, tried really hard to focus on that a lot more now. And when you start focusing on it and kind of realizing that's something you need to kind of pay attention to, you start noticing a lot, like everywhere, and you pick up on it quick. And so it's rampant. It's everywhere. We need each other. Like, now more than ever, with all the division that we've got going on, like, we need each other hardcore. And
as humans, we're like the ultimate, like dogs are companion animals. We're like the ultimate companions, mm-hmm. right? Like, we do not do well in isolation. We don't do good when we feel alone. And so as humans, it's part of our responsibility to be there for each other, kind of regardless. I don't know about you, but I think a lot of men could probably relate to this, but I grew up with this sense of feeling that saying I love you was like a weird, almost forbidden phrase, unless it was to a girlfriend or to your parents or something. But I didn't tell my friends I love you. Yeah. I think women do. I've noticed that girls are quick to be oh, I love you, with their friends, but it's not a manly thing to do. Yeah. Or at least that's how it's not that I was raised that way. It's just this perception that I took on, I guess, at some sort of early age, where it wasn't something that I would use that phrase. It wasn't until college. Some of my best friends were girls. And so my friends Bert and Yessie, and we had kind of a little squad that we would hang out with freshman year. And Bert and Yessie were always quick to say I love you. And it was always so awkward for me to say it back. I always felt weird about it. I felt like it wasn't a masculine thing to say, and it made me uncomfortable.
It felt weird coming out of your mouth.
It did. Yeah. It for the longest time, it made me really uncomfortable. And finally, I got over that. And lately, I guess in the past in the just my guy friends too. Now I make it a point to say hey man, I love you. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't feel weird like it used to, but I know a lot of people that does feel weird to them. A lot of people aren't comfortable saying that. And I totally can relate to that, because I was there before too. Yeah. It took some, different groups of friends of mine to kind of bring that out of me, to be no, this is a person that I love. I would be devastated if something happened to this person. You're one of my best friends. I love you. And so I say that to my friends, guys, girls, family, whatever. I try to make that a point now. I think that goes a long way too. Yeah. Because I've experienced that from one of my friends in particular, Marcos. He's one of my best friends. And as far as goes, with people that will verbalize that, you matter to them, I think he's one of the best at it. He's always so quick to be hey bro, love you, hope you're doing good. Hey, I miss you. That's a weird thing that guys don't say to each other, right? I miss you. Mm-hmm. He lives in Temple and I live in Fort Worth. I don't get to see him that often, but I do know that he cares about me, and I obviously care about him. He's one of my best friends, and I haven't even known him for that long in comparison to some of my other friends I've known through high school and stuff. Yeah. but he's very good at being, vocal about it. And I think that goes a long way in people's friendships.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way whenever people are down or having a hard time. And I just think that in today's society, it's not a masculine, manly thing to do. And I don't know why that is. I'm just sure that other people can relate the same way like I think about it, or the way I used to think about it, that like, yeah, that's weird. That's not something I say that often. But if we could have more of a culture shift to tell your friends that you love them, why wouldn't you? Like, would you care if that person got in a car wreck and you never saw them again? Like, would that break your heart? Yeah. Why? Because you love that person, because that's one of your best friends, right? Yeah. But why don't we say it? And then, I don't know, just being able to incorporate that. Like whenever I think about Marcos and the way that he projects his friendship and, how caring he is about his friends and his family, like I want to be like that too. So I try to incorporate that too with like our group of friends, with the friends I know, the family I have. So I think that that's super important and can go a long way, especially in times like this where things just seem so crazy, and sometimes people, I'm sure, feel alone. But maybe if they just have that one friend that's there, that Marcos in their life that's there telling them, hey, I love you. I miss you. Hope to see you soon. Hope you're doing well. Little things like that, I think, can go a long way. And it's crazy. I've thought about this numerous times whenever I've talked to Marcos. I'm like, people don't say it enough. Like people don't get it out there enough because it doesn't feel, I don't know. It's just not a comfortable thing, I think. And I think it's a masculinity type thing.
Yeah.
Really.
It's our society and just how guys are raised and how the people that raised them were like raised. It's like a generational thing. I think we're a lot better at it than like what we used to. Like if you think maybe back in the 40s or something, like you probably get slapped if you try to like talk about your feelings as a guy.
I mean, yeah.
I think we've come a long way, but I think we have a while to go. I think we have kind of some chains to break, and things that have bound guys from talking about like their feelings and feeling comfortable about it. Because there's times where I want to talk about things, but it's like I won't bother them with that, or it just feels weird coming out of my mouth. I feel like just like a pansy or something, It just like that automatic
or something. Like sometimes and it's like just, you need to vent. It's nothing more than that.
You might even know like I shouldn't feel that way about trying to express my feelings, but you do. Like it's like an automatic thing.
Yeah, it's weird,
just
right?
Baked into us, and just how our society and our world works for guys. So yeah, if you're able to have a chance to tell your friends or just somebody that needs it, man, it is uncomfortable as it is, and as weird as you might feel saying it, it's something that you probably need to do, or at least work on doing.
And it's not always easy because it's not always accepted well either. Some people are very weird about accepting it. And I know I used to be that person, right? I was the one that was so weird about saying it back. Like people would be like, I love you, like Bert or Yessie would be like, love you, Ben, like see you later. And I would just I just get weird. Yeah, okay, see y'all later. Like and I know Bert would call me out on it. Bitch, say you love me back. She would. Like, and like I appreciate that because it made me like more comfortable about it. And it's not something that you should be uncomfortable about. It's something that you should be able to do. But yeah, it was super weird for me.
So just go around to everybody going, bitch, tell me you love me.
Yeah, you should. Be that person in your friend group and make sure people know that you love them.
Right. Sometimes you got to
force
they
love you back.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to force it in there. Sometimes forced love is the best kind of love in certain instances, for sure.
Yeah. This is really not the way I expected this podcast to go, but I think that coming off of Thanksgiving, I think this is great because really that's whenever you're the most thankful, is like around Thanksgiving time, around the holiday season. I think that's whenever people...
Which it shouldn't be.
No, it should be all the time. And that's why I think this is kind of important, that maybe now's the time to prioritize it. Maybe this is what we should start thinking about as like a New Year's resolution, is making sure that your friends and family know how much they like mean to you, know how important they are in your life, and just not letting the thankful and gratitude, fade after the holidays, maintaining that year round. And so if you can get back to next Thanksgiving and the whole year be satisfied with how you treated your friends and your family and everyone knew that you loved them, and I think that'd be really great. I think that'd be something really cool to work on.
It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Just a couple words or a small gesture can go a long ways for people.
All right. That was good. Love you, brother.
Love you, man.
Love you, listeners.
Well, man, I really enjoyed that kind of conversation that we just had, even though we didn't really plan on it. For our listeners, we do kind of plan out kind of what we're talking about. We have like a kind of outline of what we're going to discuss, but I think it kind of plays into just, just rolling with the punches.
One thing that whenever Blake and I started this podcast, one thing we both agreed upon is that we didn't want it to be too structured. We wanted to come in with an idea of what we want to talk about, and then we wanted it to be free-flowing conversation after that.
Yeah.
So that's why you hear us go into maybe rambles, go into something that gets a little dark at times. But at the end of the day, it is things that come to mind for us. And we feel that if it's on our minds, it's on other people's minds.
Yeah.
And so that's what we strive to project and put out through our podcast. So that's why you hear things like that. And, that's really what our podcast is all about. We have these restless minds that are constantly going. So we come in maybe with a couple topics that we want to talk about. And then from there, we're able to just carry the conversation and let it go wherever it leads.
Right. And our method on how we kind of structure our episodes, it'll change probably over time, I'm sure. But yeah, we like to put our thoughts out there. Not that you might not care about it as much, but it might make you kind of think about your own personal self and like what that kind of topic kind of affects you, or how you feel on it. Just kind of
talk about things like that. And that's really how like our podcast originated, right? We listen to other podcasts and we're like, oh man, I have my own opinions on that.
Yeah.
Here's what I would have said. Here's where my mind goes to. So we put that together and made a podcast. Now we got current events. What you got, Blake?
Dude, so, this is kind of like what everybody knows at this point, but it looks like, Biden is our president, or will be very shortly. There was this whole thing about Trump, trying to keep him out and stalling, basically, but it's kind of gotten to a point now where all the recounting of votes and stuff, the same result kind of surfaces after all these different states recount their votes. As far as I know, there might be something happening in the background. I don't know, but I just remember kind of like once the initial, results came in, there's a lot of people talking about it's not over yet. Like, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and it's, we're going to catch all the fraud that's going on. But, it's something that was very kind of interesting to watch, but it was also exhausting because it's like we had all this build up to the election and just all the craziness and just the news, and it just was kind of stressful to try to keep up with. And then after the election, you're like, oh God, I think it's over. Like, we were kind of like, we can breathe, over. But it wasn't over. And then they just start talking about, trying to keep him out and do all this stuff. And it's like, at some point, like, we got to keep moving on. Like, we got to move on.
Yeah, that's so important. I know people that are still holding on to this thought of Trump somehow coming back in office and somehow, exposing all the fraud. And I do believe there's fraud. I believe there's fraud on both ends. I do believe that news media lies, and I think that both sides lie. I think that both sides are biased.
But to what degree? You know what I mean?
And it's like, what can you do about it? Like, I'm not saying that we need to just accept it, but also at the end of the day, I don't know. I'm like you. I'm ready for a little bit of stability to come through, and us just all get back on the same track. Hindsight might be 2020. Maybe we should have fought harder. Maybe Biden's going to like ruin the country, or maybe he's not. Maybe he's going to make some good, valuable changes, and lives are going to start getting better. If more than half the country thinks that he's a good president, like, my opinion is he can't be that bad.
But you got to think it's not just him too. Like, there's a whole system that makes decisions.
It's not like he's president. He just says, "Hey, well, this is what I'm going to do," and that's what happens.
Yeah, we see that like presidents all the time, they get blocked from trying to make moves. So it's like we can't put all of like our hope and all of our eggs in one basket, basically.
Yeah.
And so, but we're starting to see now that like all those results are starting. Yes, there was. Obviously there's fraud and stuff, but to what degree, it wasn't enough to change the results, what it looks like now. And so it's just good to kind of see that, like, we're just moving on, regardless.
Let's play the hand that we were dealt and see what we can do.
Yeah, because it's not going to do us any good to keep, just brooding on it and just sitting on, no, like, we can't accept this because there's no real evidence, it seems like, of any kind of thing that we need to, overturn the whole result.
Well, we'll see how Trump handles it whenever it comes January.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's good to just kind of see a move on from all this, because this whole political season has been very stressful, and it's made me very tired.
Isn't it weird that like we don't want? I say we. Okay, if I'm going to associate myself with a party, I'm going to associate myself with the Republican Party, and I feel that there's a general people for some reason the Republican Party doesn't really want to see Biden do very well.
Yeah,
right, because he's not our team. You know, he wasn't our leader. He's not who we picked. Mm-hmm. But like, screw that. Like, I hope that some good policies come out of his presidential term. Like, I hope that he makes some good changes that this country needed, whether we agree with them right now or not. I hope that whatever happens, we all look back and go, oh, that wasn't too bad. Like, I remember people making a big deal whenever Obama won and when he was president. And like, I don't know enough about the little changes that were made with, the economy and how things were affected. And, Trump's just obviously the best man for the economy and this and that. I don't know the details of all that, but like, did my personal life change all that much when Obama was president? Not really. I know there was a long period of time where I overpaid for ammunition, but other than that, like, I still have my guns. So I'm not, everyone was saying that he was going to take away our guns. So like, I don't know. I think that people should just get over it, the fact that Biden's going to be the next president, and let's all just rally around him, and hopefully we can have some good policies come out of it. And because like America, our country is not perfect right now. It wasn't perfect under the Trump administration. It's not going to be perfect under the Biden administration. But if we can start working our way to something better, whether it's our ideas or the right ideas or the left side ideas, whatever it's coming from, like, can we not just all hope for the best?
Yeah.
Can we not just all root for our leader?
Root for, because we're on the same team.
Yeah. Like, come on, guys. Like,
offense and defense are different sides of the same coin. It's like, it's like that with sports. It's like this with the country. We're all on the same side here.
Let's try to win together.
And I do agree with you. We need to support whoever is up there, because that's who we need to support, man, because that's who's in charge. And and to at least support him. You might not agree with the policies that come out of this whole thing, but support and prayers are needed for whoever's up there.
Yep.
So, just good to see it kind of start to move on to a certain extent, and I hope the best for all the outcomes that are about to happen. You want me to go on my second one?
Yeah, what you got?
So quick. I don't know if it's implemented right now, but Twitter is going to, or is now, because I know like social media updates don't always carry over to everybody. It's like the Instagram thing where they removed where you can see the number of likes. I knew I couldn't.
Changed on mine.
Yeah, I couldn't see anybody's likes, but obviously you could still. So like some of these changes aren't a blanket thing for everybody, but I know Twitter's going to implement this in some fashion. It's basically whenever you like something that maybe deals with politics or whatever kind of information, it'll actually notify you, send you a message or whatever, notification that it's either like false or is questionable. Yeah, because there is like, I know like on like Instagram or something, because I don't have a Twitter, or I'm never on it. Some of the things that are posted on Instagram, down at the very bottom of the picture, it'll say like, this was notified for being fraudulent information or misuse of information.
Instagram have been starting to do that.
But it sounds like they're going to actually like kind of more directly tell you, hey, this is something that might not be truth. So that's just interesting. And, that sounds really good, right? I want to know when I'm being fed bullshit. Everybody should. But my issue with that and what I'm kind of uneasy about is who's doing that, right? It's one entity. It's a private entity that's got its own ideas and its own motives and stuff. So that's
its own agenda, its own bias.
So that's what's a little. It can be fishy. It can kind of. I'm a little uneasy about it, but at least they're taking steps to. We're seeing like the CEOs being brought in front of the government and questioned. What are you doing, right? Like with all like the election and there's always like this thing of like, oh, they swing election. They do. They have a lot of power on our whole social construct of America and just in different countries, just the whole world actually. They have a lot of power. And so it should be something that they're held accountable for to sift through.
Taking some ethical steps to be able to allow information to be passed to the users in a non-biased form or in an attempt to make it only true information that gets processed.
And that's easier said than done.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a big wall, like a dam or something, and it's starting to leak in multiple places. It's like you can only,
plug so many holes.
And social media is such a massive machine. I'm sure sifting through everything that's posted and put out there, it's impossible.
Right.
So that's just an issue that we definitely need to figure out a way to do it. And I'm sure it's never going to be perfect, just like everything else in the world. It's never perfect. But at least they're taking steps to kind of, at least notify you that, hey, maybe this information's not, as valid as it seems, and makes people research it more. Maybe, I don't know. It's going to be different. People are going to either go like, nah, Twitter's trying to, swing my opinion one way, and I'm just going to, still support whatever that post is or something. So it's interesting to see it. The different ways that these different platforms are I think calling out false information.
I think that'll become a new normal with some of the social media that you see, just more fact-checking stuff. And I think they'll work out some of the kinks and hopefully get it down. It's at least it's in an effort, to help us, right? Yeah. The users. It's in an effort to get better information out there. So we'll see.
That's all I got.
Okay. Mine's quick. I got an update on that South Dakota Attorney General that killed that guy that was walking down the highway, right? And I actually saw some pictures whenever I was looking up to find this update. I saw some pictures of his car. This guy's car was messed up. Like, I don't know how he didn't pull over. Like, the front passenger side was pretty dented, but like the windshield was all busted. Yeah. Like, he obviously hit something big and hit something hard. And there's been a couple different articles talking about the discrepancies between his 911 call and what actually happened, and how it doesn't really add up and what they predict is going to happen. Yeah. But nothing's been done. Like, I mean, you're talking, this guy is an attorney general, so he obviously has a lot of influence with law and how the process is going to go. And he's probably got a lot of friends in high places to help get him out of a mess like this. Mm-hmm. But from everything that I've read, people are starting to speak up about it. There's a lot of questions as to, like, here, I'll show you a picture of the car. There's a lot of questions as to, like, what's going to happen and why is this not being taken care of. But the family too has spoke out a little bit, calling him a coward and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, from what I could find, dude, there's nothing that's nobody's holding this guy accountable.
In that picture, it looks like something hit the corner of the car, like where the headlight is, and bounced like up onto the windshield. Like, it looks like it hit an object.
The whole passenger side of the windshield is like busted in. Yeah. And
there's like a gap between those two dents. Yeah. Of just where it's
like
not
something rolled over the car.
Yeah, it's like something bounced on top.
He hit this guy hard, and to me, I there's no doubt in my mind that if this would have happened to me, I would have pulled over and tried to figure out what I hit and how damaged the car was. This isn't like an accident, like a little fender bender that you just keep driving till you get home on. No, not on a over 100-mile trip that he was making too, coming back from whatever that dinner event was that he was at this late at night. And he has a previous record of vehicle violations and traffic issues and stuff. So I think some intoxicated driving, stuff like that too on his record. And so that's another question that people are asking is like, was he screened? Did they test his blood alcohol level? What was, what steps were taken in trying to do this investigation? So if I hear anything or look up more information coming out, I'll be sure to update the listeners, but nothing so far. And that, you're talking, this happened back in September.
Story continues.
So it's like, okay, interesting. We'll see.
And some things like this go on for years before they, which is weird. Like, evidence comes out years later after the event happened. It's like, wow, like things just kind of surface up. Yep. Out of nowhere, even way after the actual event that took place.
Yeah, to me, it's just, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this guy because he's such a political figure. Yeah, he obviously has. Guy. He's an attorney general. He has some power. And
a lot of eyes are on him, right? So like,
it's true, but
he's on a spotlight.
Why? Yeah, why is this not a bigger deal? I don't know. Okay, my second thing is really not a current event. It is kind of current, but it's more of a what would Blake do type of question. What's up? And we'll talk about it a little bit. So I was preparing myself for this hunting trip that we talked about, right? And so I've been listening to a lot of Meat Eater podcasts with Stephen Rennell. It's a really good podcast if you like hunting. And really, it's more of almost a biological and historical podcast. Yeah. Because Stephen Rennell is just an encyclopedia, whenever it comes to all things animals, hunting, and stuff like that. But one of his friends that he frequently has on is Ryan Callahan. He's usually there with him. And he was telling the story about his house being broken into. And they saw a lot of his stuff. Well, it was broken into while he was there. And they basically came in, they cracked his garage door open a little bit, and they were in his garage rummaging through his things. He's got a lot of guns down there. He's got a lot of hunting equipment, a lot of expensive stuff. And in the midst of them going through everything, it woke him up from his bed. And so the best I could understand, the layout of his house is where his bedroom is above his garage. Yeah. And he actually has like a little balcony that he could walk out on and kind of get a better sense of what's going on. And he heard them and he started to go down the stairs and he made enough noise, I guess, that he scared them off. And while doing that, they had gotten the keys to his truck and they actually took his truck. They took some of his, I don't think there was a lot of things that they could have easily taken that were very expensive that they either didn't know about or didn't want to take. Yeah. But they took some of like his old tools, but they left some of like his nice guns. But they did take all of his information. I think he was like refinancing or buying a new home or something like that. They took all his personal information and actually ended up giving it to other people that he found out about this because he got declined for a Victoria's Secret card. He was like, what? Like, I got declined for this credit card or whatever. But they were using a lot of his bank information and personal information for that. But my question for you is, whenever he heard them, he kind of had the choice. He could have easily grabbed the weapon that he keeps beside his bed and walked out on the balcony where he would have seen them go to his truck. Yeah. Essentially get in it. He could have, done a number of things. And he talks about it in a sense that he was worried that if he did have the gun and did make eye contact with them, and knowing that they could potentially have his guns, they could be armed, a lot going on. He really didn't want to like put himself in a situation that he felt he would pull the trigger. Yeah. But he got a lot of backlash on that. A lot of people said, you're sitting there complaining about them taking all your stuff whenever you just basically laid low and didn't do anything about it. So if you were in the situation of someone's breaking in, stealing most likely thousands of dollars worth of your stuff and potentially your truck too, and you have a weapon in range, what would your steps be in this instance? You wake up, you hear, that people are in your home. Yeah. And they're obviously taking things of yours, and you have now the choice or the ability to do something about it.
Ooh, that's a hard question because there's always like what I would think I would do in that moment.
Then what you do in the moment, what you actually would do.
You don't know what you're going to do in that kind of moment because we don't see those kind of moments enough in our day-to-day life. Right.
We just but let's just play out.
Right. But this is like the kind of point that I want to make before I kind of go through maybe what I would think I would do. And he's got like a family and stuff.
He did not. I don't think he had a family with him there at the time.
I mean, I guess regardless.
I don't.
So if I had, my gun at my bedside, and I hear all this kind of like rustling around, and I know like something's being broken into, something's not right. Of course, I'm probably gonna grab that. I'm probably gonna have it at least on me, just like you said he did. Now, if I look over, like you said, he had like a balcony or whatever, and he could
walk out of his. If he walked out of his room onto his balcony, he would basically be able to see the front of his garage and through his driveway where they were essentially going to leave from. Now, at this time, they were still in the garage, so you can either go downstairs and go into the garage door, or you could go off the balcony and look over basically and see like what's going on.
Man, so if I'm looking out and I'm seeing them stealing my stuff, for one, shooting somebody isn't just cut and dry anymore. Like you can actually get fucked for defending your property.
If you kill somebody, you're going to jail.
Yeah, like
not that you're going to go and get jail time, but you're going to be detained that night, right? Yeah, and then from there, you're going to
they got to figure it all out.
Lawyers, yeah, right.
Yeah. So it's going to be a major process, like probably more than you think you're going to be in. Like people not think like, either. Oh no, like defending yourself on that, it's going to cost you money regardless. So like discharging and even if you didn't shoot the guy, but there's evidence like they found a casing that you shot at them or something. Even that, like that's going to cause you a lot of time and a lot of money.
And there's certain laws about, here in Texas, it's a little bit different, but in some
it's different state to state.
There's certain laws. Now I think he lives in Montana or Michigan, maybe. I don't know, a northern state. Yeah. A pretty like rural state. So I think that the laws would maybe be similar to Texas and maybe. somebody entering in your home, you can shoot them. Somebody stealing. I think here, if they're stealing more than like $1,000 worth of something, then it's like a justifiable shooting. But
it's like how in that moment, how can you like calculate that? Like you don't know what they're stealing, and so it's like it's such a messy thing. And like once you make that decision, there's no going back. No, I would try my best not to shoot that gun. It doesn't matter what they're stealing. I don't care at that moment.
So what would you do?
I'd probably I would yell or scream or do something to get their attention to let them know that I know that they're there.
What about a little warning shot?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if
fuckers, pa.
A warning shot can get you.
Grass.
I think a warning shot can get you fucked too. Probably evidence is found or whatever the next day or when the police come out and then they see that casing, they don't know that you shot it up in the sky or shot it off in another direction to give them a warning shot. They could easily think that you shot right at them, and that's probably just as bad, as
some sort of attempted murder or something.
Yeah, and so that's something that, like, man, like I don't know, man. Like, yeah, I would definitely, I would try my best not to shoot off the gun. Like, I would try to get their attention to let them know that I know that they're there. And then after that, I don't know. Like,
they're just going to run. They're just going to take what they have and get out of there.
I think the best way, and this might sound, it's to try to put the ball in their court. Try to, and this is different if you have like family and kids in the house or whatever. But if it's just like you, it's to like put the risk into their hands. So if I know that I'm in a situation where I'm perched up maybe on a balcony or something that I know I have visual of them, and I have the better position, then I know that I can probably do my best not to get shot if they were to shoot at me or something. But I'm going to put it in their hands that whatever they do, they're going to fuck themselves. So if they're going to shoot at me as they run off or whatever, like, I'm not going to just shoot at them as they run away.
Right.
And like I said, I just don't care enough about my stuff to want to shoot somebody at. That stuff can be replaced, insurance or whatever. Like, it just doesn't matter. It's just trying to control the situation enough to where you can get them the fuck out. You can get them to leave. Because, like, what are you going to really do? I mean, yeah, you can shoot them. I mean, then what? If there's two of them, you shoot one guy, what's the other guy going to do? You don't know.
Right. What if he shoots you then? Yeah.
Yeah.
But what if you walk out on the balcony and, they see you have a gun or whatever, and they have your gun, they have your shotgun. I mean, one shot with a shotgun at close range
also
could be
that too.
Could be the last thing you ever.
In my situation that I'm, painting in my head, I have some distance between me and them.
Right.
If it's close, that's a different story. Then that's when you make a decision right then and there. And it might be that I think the closer you are to them, the more, likely you are to probably want to discharge your firearm.
And it obviously depends. Like, when you wake up and you hear them, you don't have any idea if these people are armed or not. You don't know what their intentions are. You don't know if they're just some thug kids down the block that somehow, got in your truck and they got into his truck and used his garage door opener to open his garage and then get in the garage and steal some things, tools and whatnot. And so, like, you don't know what's going on, though, when you just hear him going down there.
Yeah.
This could be like a meth head that's just methed out and crazy and trying to steal guns and weapons.
Yeah.
And that could really put you in danger. Or it could just be some kids that are up to no good trying to find some money or whatever they can and get out of there.
But if there's, like I said, if there's somebody in the house, loved ones, then that changes the story. That probably dictates your decision making.
Right.
And it's at nighttime, you're woken up, you're hazy, and if you don't train for that kind of thing, you're not ready for it. And
no, definitely not. It's not something that you're not going to react the way that you play it out in your head that you're going to react.
Like Bubba down the street that, hunts all the time and loves his guns and is all for the Second Amendment, and, doesn't matter. Whatever decisions are made, it's just going to be in the moment. You can't plan for that unless you train for it. That's why, military, police officers, they go through training for it, whether that's good training or not. We're kind of seeing that play out here recently. But it's just something that if you aren't ready for it and you don't practice those scenarios, you're not going to be ready for it. And you don't know what you're going to do. Crazy things happen. People do amazing things, but insane things in those kind of moments, because that's when your fight or flight mode kicks in, and that will override any kind of sense making that you have on a day-to-day basis. You are a different person at that moment, because you don't know if they're going to kill you, or you're fighting for your life at that point, because you don't know what's going to happen. You're just you're in total your cerebral is just on full alert and like kicked up 110%. So yeah, you're going to do things that probably aren't like you. And that's a hard fucking question. It's interesting to think about it though, to like walk through like what you might do. But he didn't discharge his weapon at all?
No, he didn't. He didn't even make like real eye contact with him. He heard, he made noise, I believe, that scared them off. He heard his truck start and leave, which is heartbreaking, because like the sound of your truck starting and leaving, and like he knew they were stealing his truck, which they found down the road, and they recovered some of his stuff. But I think he was satisfied with his decision. He really kind of basically got them out in a sense that stopped what was happening. Obviously, he lost some valuable things, but they could all be replaced. He didn't have to live with himself pulling the trigger. Yeah. And what if you pull the trigger and it's a 15-year-old kid that was just, poor kid, was up to no good, didn't know, like knew better, but also was just raised in, a terrible situation or something, and you ended his life over what, maybe a few $100s, a few $1,000s worth of items. Like, so for him, I think he was satisfied with the decision that was made, and he's still going through a lot because he had people with his personal information, with his social security card, with his, with all sorts of information and his belongings and stuff. But at the end of the day, I think that's kind of how I would stand. I think that my first reaction would be like, oh, like I'm gonna kill whoever's here. Like I'm gonna shoot them. But then when it comes down to it, I don't want to pull the trigger on somebody unless I have fear for my life. No, I don't want to have that on my conscience for the rest of my life. Yeah, and that's something I've thought about before in different situations, things that I've been in. That's made me think about like, man, I'm glad that I haven't been in a situation where I've had to take someone's life, because I don't know how I would handle that. I don't think many people do. No. But I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think that would be something that people are going to handle well, especially not me.
Now, if it's a Navy SEAL or
maybe
a highly trained, even them, there's probably a point where they're going to do what they are going to do in that moment. Yeah. But they're probably more equipped to understand and handle the situation in that moment way better than most people are, just because they've done that for their job. They've done it, before. They've been in battle probably, or whatever. But normal, civilians,
I think they're also not going to be so quick to pull the trigger either. I think they're going to be responsible.
They're probably
going to be more methodical with what their actions are.
No, absolutely. They're probably going to be one of the last ones to pull the trigger, to be honest. So,
something to think about. I heard it on the podcast and I was like, wow, that's interesting. I don't know what I would do in that situation. And so I want to bring it up, ask you.
No, that's cool. That's an interesting little exercise. Yeah. To think about what you would do. What would you do, folks?
Yeah. What would Ben and Blake do?
Think about it. Ask your friends.
Talk to your friends. Tell them you love them.
Yeah, that too. That's more important.
Yeah. All right.
Guys, thanks for listening. We'll be back with you on the next episode, episode 13. Make sure you follow us on the Restless Minds on Instagram. You can email us at restlessminds@gmail.com.
Restless Minds Podcast.
restlessmindspodcast@gmail.com. Sorry about that.
And Restless Minds Podcast on Instagram. Hit us up. Hit us with some questions, some comments, some feedback. Give us a rating on whatever.
As long as it's 5 stars,
whatever you listen to,
give us your real opinion. For sure give us a follow, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Thanks everybody.